everyone, and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. It's time for a post-match edition for St. Louis FC as they just got done playing Montreal FC 2, or FC Montreal, I guess I should say is their technical name. Technically, they're one of the lower tier teams with an MLS team above them. Right to it though, again, St. Louis FC with just another really overall disappointing performance. No position on the field played overly well, and that's overall positions: goalkeeper, defense, midfield, forward, what have you. There were individuals who had decent games, but again, it's the same problems that keep creeping in over and over for this team. You see great effort for about 60 minutes to 70 minutes, kind of in that time frame, and it's just one little mental mistake seems to keep killing this team in the grand scheme of things. One of the best players on the team, James Musa, in my estimation, was kind of at fault for that second goal. There were lots of things in the run-up to that you could put blame on. This should have happened. That would have taken away an opportunity. The ball should have been cut off there. All that. But James Musa, for as good as he is, just had kind of a mental lapse. And again, I understand how difficult being a defender even at that level is. Even further up it becomes more difficult. But as a goalkeeper, there are certain things that I see consistently, whether we're talking about the Premier League on down through U.S. youth soccer or CYC even, when you're talking about the good teams anyway. There is a lack of focus at critical times when it comes to defending. And again, I'm not taking anything away from these players' talents. They're good defenders. They hustle. They are out there doing the best that they can. But in those critical moments, for whatever reason, they lack that insight into where the ball needs to be kept away from. As a goalkeeper, you want it as far away from the middle, if a shot is going to come, as possible. And consistently, whether it's St. Louis FC or teams higher up all the way through the Premier League and La Liga and the Bundesliga, I constantly see players who, for whatever reason, lose focus at that critical time, and all of a sudden, instead of, in Musa's case, he had the player in a decent position. Yes, he would have had a good shot on goal if you had allowed that to happen, but he would have been on his left foot, which for all intents and purposes, for what we know, would have been the weaker foot, and he was to the left side of the semicircle, just outside the box. Instead of keeping him out in that direction, all of a sudden the player was allowed to switch over to the right foot, carry it in towards the middle of the field, and then he had his choice of where to shoot the ball. There's absolutely no chance for any goalkeeper to get to that shot, because I don't care how broad-shouldered you are, you have to cover of a 24-foot goal. If you're directly in the middle, you're basically going to be covering at least 10 feet on either side of you. That is incredibly difficult to not only try to guess or see some sort of telltale sign of where that shot is going to go, but react and then cover all that distance. If the shot is well placed, which it was, then there's very little any goalkeeper could do. The defenders have to know to push everything to the outside. And now, as I say that, it's easier said than done. But ultimately, you need to have positioning to where, okay, as a goalkeeper, you're going to be frustrated with your defense a little bit if that allows a scoring opportunity no matter what. But if I'm the goalkeeper in that situation, if I'm Alec Can, if the shot comes from the left of the semicircle with a left foot, and that's not necessarily the player's preferred foot, I'm going to prefer that. If he beats me with something magical, then so be it. But I'm going to be extremely frustrated if you allow him to go over into the middle and have a great crack and pick his side. Then all of a sudden I'm going to be a little bit more frustrated. Now, following that, St. Louis FC basically kind of had a little bit of a meltdown, similarly to what happened against Montreal on the road. They start pushing forward a little bit. Mental mistakes at the back end up starting to happen again, whether it was midfielders or defenders. Just the wheels kind of came off. A late goal made it 3-1 for St. Louis FC. You like to see that Hardware was still out there putting in his good time, and that St. Louis FC was at least able to poach a goal. Maybe give yourself a little bit of confidence into the next couple matches, which are going to be on the road, as the team is not going to be back at home until August 20th. But again, it's the same things coming back to haunt this team over and over. Just that critical mental mistake, either by the back four or somebody defensively in the midfield, allowing that goal, and then they seem to get their dauber down a little bit, and things just kind of snowball from there. As you get a little bit of that hangdog, head looking down mentality. And St. Louis FC has got to find a way to overcome that, whether that's coaching, whether that's somebody in the locker room stepping up and saying, hey, we just can't have this anymore. We got to fight for that entire 90 minutes. Something has to be done about it. As far as the finishing goes, I mean, that's been a problem for this team throughout the season. It's disappointing to see, especially for those of us, and I know that a lot of you out there who are watching this are season ticket holders, or at least have been to several games, so you know what I'm talking about. These are situations to where it's been continuously, and not even one single player. It seems to be a team epidemic. They either don't shoot, or when they do shoot, the shots just aren't quite hitting their intended target. And ultimately, there's very little that you can do about that, because you can sit there and practice left, right, center 24/7, and getting your leg over the ball in practice is something completely different than doing it in a game. But still, the thing that's disappointing from this team is there's too many goals from set pieces. Even the goal from tonight's game came off a corner kick. Now, given their situation, you need to score goals however you can. But it would just be nice as a fan to see a little bit more from the run of play. St. Louis FC is still not eliminated from the playoff picture, but they're making things extremely difficult for themselves. It's going to be difficult. Not saying they can't do it. The talent is there. They've got a good center back pairing, I think, now in Fink and Musa. I think they communicate very well. Again, it was just kind of one of those mental mistakes that happens in a game. You kind of get lost on where you are in the field, whether they want to put Musa back in the defensive midfield or not. That was a better position for him personally, but I think for the team, Fink and Musa have been working fairly well. But again, overall, they've just got to find that team cohesion. It still looks too much like 9 or 10 players all playing individually, hoping that the teammate in the same jersey is going to be in a certain spot, and it's just not working right now. But I know that you'll all be still at the park come the next home game. I'll still be there. We have fun. That's what we do as fans. It's just disappointing that a team that we care about is not pulling out those results, especially at home. The home record is just atrocious. 1 win in the league, 3 wins at home overall. But, I mean, I'll give credit to the St. Louis soccer community. They're still packing the park. 2 sellouts in a row, good crowds throughout the summer. Now they just need to be treated to some really solid results as well, and that'll really kind of end the season on a positive note. That is the View from the Midwest post-match edition. What are your views on today's topic? Comment, rate, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. And until the next time, I'll see you then.